Welcome to Mo's Market Pulse. I'm your host, Sara Mokaram, founder of Mo Digital Solutions, where we help businesses hit their revenue goals and thrive. On this podcast, we talk with industry leaders about their business, market trends, growth strategies, and what's ahead. Today, we have Geoff Rego, CEO and co founder of Hushly. Thank you so much, Geoff, for taking some time today to talk with us.
Thanks, Sara. Happy to be here.
Let's start with the foundation, just understanding your business at its core and your background. You've been in cloud marketing automation even before some of the big names were on the scene. So, looking back, what pivotal moments from your time shaped your vision for what Hushly would become?
Sure. I've been a serial marketing technology entrepreneur, one of the OGs in marketing automation in the cloud. And I ran a business called Market to Lead for about 10 years, sold that to Oracle, took some time off, and then came back with Hushly. So a lot of the experiences are grounded in terms of technology innovations or business model changes, etc. And when you look at how buyers are buying, etc., I felt that there was a need of a platform like Hushly about 8 years ago. And so I've worked in from a business process. I worked from different processes from lead to opportunity, opportunity close. This time around, I was looking at the business process, which is visitor to contact. How can you make that seamless and better for the buyers?
Great. And for listeners who might not be as familiar, though, with Hushly, can you just describe its core mission and value proposition, really, and kind of that gap that you're filling for these B2B marketers and how it actually works in your system?
Sure. From a core mission is we are trying to create the very best user experience for buyers. That's the core mission. And in terms of how we are doing that is we are relying on the whole concept of personalization because a one size fits all experience does not work. So how do we create those awesome personalized experiences at scale? Our customers are B2B marketers. We're laser focused on B2B marketing. And the challenge is how do you create these personalized buyer experiences or awesome experiences for buyers? And we provide the technology to our customers to provision those buying experiences.
Okay. And I'd read that you have an approach of co-inventing with customers. Can you share a story of a time when that philosophy led to a breakthrough product or unexpected pivot at Hushly?
Sure. One of the key differentiators of Hushly, as you bring out, Sarah, is we are a customer first company. What we mean by that is we do not accept investor capital. So we are truly customer first. So everything we do is co-inventing or co-developing with our customers. So an example would be we have customers are looking for a go-to-market strategy, say, for example, an ABM go-to-market strategy for which they need tools. The primary pain point for ABM that we have heard from our customers was if I want to go after, say, 100 different accounts, I want to create these 100 awesome account focused experiences, and I need to do it at scale. Yeah, so we had built a very simple yet powerful template to allow customers to do this. One of the enhancements, some of our customers came to us and said, this helps, right? This is the ability to clone these experiences and make some data changes here and there. And it feels like you built a custom microsite for, say, Coca-Cola versus Clorox, different industries, but you need to sell to, the value proposition for that particular account. One of the challenges there is I need to do a lot of research on Coca-Cola and I need to do a lot of research on, say, Clorox, and that's a lot of time. Can you help us using technology to do that research for us and to auto generate microsites for, say, Coca-Cola versus Clorox? And that's a technology that we co-develop with our customers that saying, okay, tell me what you do on a daily basis. Where do you spend your time? What are the challenges you have? What if we do X, Y, and Z? It's not going to solve everything, but can we do this, and who is the audience that you're trying to serve, right? It's primarily the marketers that are trying to serve their sales guys in order to provide those experiences for the accounts that they're going after. So we look at it, we kind of mock it up. We spec it out with the customer. And this case in point is we started this process in January of this year with a customer called Eightfold. And we announced this product at Forrester's B2B Summit. And the product is called Account Sherpa. And it's a direct relationship of engaging with Eightfold, understanding what else did they want. And now we're using AI to do deep research on these accounts. And so we can combine public account intelligence like 10Q filings, press releases in the news, combine that with private intelligence that Eightfold has in their Salesforce, like sales notes, etc., and overlay that with, say, go-to-market knowledge base. How do you sell to different industries? How do you sell to different personas or different pain points? Once you triangulate that information, we bring our technology to bear and saying, okay, for this particular account that you're going after, AI is able to make a microsite specifically for that account, which was a human way to do it. And now it's completely automated, right? So that's an example of when I say co-development, that's one more recent example of how we do this. So we're not driven by investors' pressures. We're driven primarily by what our customers want. So all our solutions are baked into it. So hopefully that helps in terms of an example.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, AI driven personalization is a hot space right now. And so, from your vantage point, what are the biggest trends that you're watching that could reshape the industry in the next 1 to 2 years?
All of us have used AI in some format with ChatGPT or any sort of LLM. I think what we are doing right now is, I'll give you an example. This is another use case, which is generative AI has been around for quite some time now, 3-4 years. Actually, it's been around for a long time, but people started using it over the last few years. We think personalized generative AI is where the true value of generative AI comes in. Most of the time, people look at generative AI, at least in the marketing space, and saying, hey, we're using generative AI to produce content, kind of. It's a productivity tool to give you content marketers a kind of a jump start to create content for different industries or different personas, but they're still very aggregated at a very high level. So we looked at it and saying, okay, what does personalized real-time generative AI look, which is kind of the true nirvana? It's like, so we came out with a product called Content Sherpa, which is reimagining how users engage with or get educated with content on a company's resource center, which is a big portion of the website. So if you go to the website to get educated, one of the areas that you land into is the resource center, where there's rich media content like ebooks, white papers, webinars, etc. So we looked at how can we transform this experience from a browse-first interface where users have to come today, search, navigate, find content, and then they have to read the content or view the content to get to that insight. And this could take a long time. Can we educate these buyers faster? So we transform that to a agentic interface, which is the user comes in, then they're not asking, they just pretty much say, this is what we're looking for, what topic they're interested in. And the agent is surfacing up a response, which is a composite object. So it's taking, based on the question being asked, it's taking a snippet from a blog. It's taking a snippet from, say, an ebook. It's taking a snippet from a video, putting that together as a composite object or a composite document, and then offering that up as a response to the user. And the user doesn't have to do all of this stuff, right? So the user gets educated faster. Is that generative AI? Yes, it's generative AI because it's taking pieces, personalizing it, and then it's using that memory or that state to figure out, okay, what are the next follow-up questions, or based on what you told me and based on what you're interested, it's now reconstructing content for that user, right? That is where the true, and now you're not using sort of some inference data of how many people clicked on my piece of content or how many people viewed my content, which honestly is vanity metric. Well, what questions they're asking, what is their intent? Because marketers, we kind of make inferences that if they did this and this, they're probably interested in that. That's kind of signal-based intent. But this is where the customer is actually saying what they're interested in, right? So there's no misinterpretation. The customer's intent is different than what marketers think that the customer's intent is. So when you have zero-party data, you can actually now customize and educate those buyers more more effectively and then more efficiently, right? So it's really becoming truly personalized generative AI. And this is a product that we have called Content Sherpa. And again, I'm not pitching these products, but I'm talking to you in terms of how we are seeing where can we use AI-based methodologies to make the buyer's experience faster, right? Because we're not looking at AI as a productivity tool for employees. We're looking at AI as a productivity tool for a buyer. And the byproduct of educating that buyer is going to benefit everyone else.
Yeah, I know you aren't promoting, but these sound like amazing products, I have to say. There's, no shortage though of competitors in the B2B marketing tech. So, what would you say kind of differentiates Hushly in this landscape? And, I know you've mentioned some of these amazing aspects of it, but how would you say how you guys really stand out?
Good question. And this is where the buyers also look for, right? They come to figure out what do you offer, um, how are you different, and why are you better, right? That's the buyer's education, right? So how Hushly is different is we are a comprehensive all-in-one personalization software. We have a lot of competitors in each category. So for example, when we say personalization could be in anything on many different vectors. So it could be as simple as using a person's name to all the way, if you're talking ABM, you're trying to influence multiple members of a buying team, right? And that level of personalization where you're bringing the sales rep and videos of sales rep talking to the account. So there's different gradations of personalization. So if you look at, say, somebody comes to the website, on your homepage, right? And you're trying to get somebody, you want to change, say, the image or the message or the CTA or anything based on the audience that visiting the website, that falls under the website personalization category. Under that category, we primarily see large technology companies like Adobe Target or maybe Optimizely, or on the mid-size companies, we see Mutiny, VW. So that's the category of that we compete with. Then there are content experience platforms, right, which is dealing with providing rich content experiences in that friction, etc. There are other competitors in that space like Path Factory, Uberflip, Follows, etc. We compete with them. Then there's part of, you do all of this stuff to do generate demand, right, to capturing leads, etc. So there, I would say there's competition between us versus the data service providers like Clearbit, ZoomInfo, etc. So when a marketer is looking for a personalization technology, they're trying to personalize the website, they're trying to personalize resource centers or content hubs, they're trying to personalize microsites for accounts, they're trying to personalize landing pages, they're trying to personalize and offer personalized ads, content ads, and also they're trying to personalize, how to capture visitors, the 90% of visitors who abandon landing pages, right? It's kind of shopping cart abandonment. So all of these are personalization touch points. And Hushly is the only one that provides all of this. Most of our, uh, uh, you know, most of the buyers would have to stitch together a lot of that. So that's one area of differentiation. We are a comprehensive all-in-one personalization software company. On the other end, you brought it up earlier, we are a customer-first company. We do not accept investor capital, so we have no investor pressures, right? So so. What happens after you purchase the software? Who's that customer? Who's that vendor who's going to support you, right? Post purchase. And that's why we rated the highest, because we have that pedigree from day one that we will not accept investors' capital and we're going to be aligned with our customers. So those are the two areas that we differentiate.
Those are great areas to stand out for sure. So, have you seen any shifts in customer needs or behaviors that surprised you recently? And how has that impacted your strategic focus?
I wouldn't say, surprise is I've seen adoption of AI in certain areas, and I've seen a reluctance of adoption of AI in certain other areas, right? You would think like it's kind of a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you adopt these basic? And part of it is, yes, there are issues with adopting AI, especially in certain areas, like if you're dealing with data, which is very sensitive, like health data or anything. But in marketing, you would think that marketing content is not confidential data, it's not personal data. So the adoption of AI should be better. But there's also this, you have to build trust, and trust builds over a period of time. So it's like whatever the AI engine is recommending, or actually in the example that I gave you, which is personalized generative AI, can I trust it, right? So we're seeing that reluctance because they need to build out that trust. Towards that end, what we're trying to do is saying, okay, take stepping stones to build up that trust, because trust is not a 0-1, it builds up over a period of time. So we say, all right, maybe you can offer the AI first experience to 10% of your traffic and see how that works, and 90% has the classical non-AI experience, and then you see. So we are trying to build out easier adoptions to address some of the trust related factors that marketers have in their desire to adopt AI. So there's a desire, but there's also this fear of adopting AI.
That's nice that you can onboard that way, though, where they can kind of do it almost an A/B testing on their own to prove out your concept, really, right? So that's nice
Yeah.
that you can do that. So, what's now shifting a little bit here? What's been your most effective growth channel to date? And why do you think it's resonated so well with your target audience?
Like, we have to, in our terms of our growth go to market strategy, we invest in all of it, whether it's inbound, outbound, partner led, event led, product led strategies, right? In terms of the most effective, we seem to have more success on the event led motion, because I think people still have the things that I need to buy from people I know and trust. And so we definitely see events as our growth strategy. We have also laser focus on one channel, which is LinkedIn, as opposed to invest in multiple of these channels. That seems to be working really well. You build out your thought leadership out there. And other things that we have invested in is, go to market strategies with our partners, and our partners are either technology companies like Six Sense or Demandbase. So we have a lot of technology partnerships. We go to market with them, or with agency partners, because we are in the marketing space. So I think those are our three primary growth tactics, and in that order.
Okay. And looking ahead over the next 12 months, are there any other, levers that you see as accelerating your growth that maybe you haven't used before that you're going to be trying?
We have tried and had not succeeded in the past with other growth. And that doesn't mean that we are not going to try. It's just like, when we tried it, maybe the environment, maybe. There's one thing that we are looking to try is, we tried webinars, we tried virtual events, and that didn't really work out as well as we could. But there's an angle where you can do influencer marketing, get an influencer on a particular webinar and try that approach. I think rather than just give up on webinars and saying, hey, people have a lot of fatigue on a lot of this other stuff, there may be other things that we can fine tune to try those. So there are other things that we have that we have to try. But again, we have to be resourceful also. We can't, and if it's not working for us, then yeah, we have to look for other ways. The current tactic seems to be working good for us. So those are nice to have. They are not must have at this point, but we have ideas. If things stop working on the three tactics that we have, yes, then we can start investing in others. But for right now, it's kind of taking a back seat.
That makes sense. And so, of course, every business goes through challenging points. So, what's been the single biggest pain point or frustration for Hushly over the past year? And why has it been such a sticking point for you?
Well, I wouldn't say over the past year, from day one as well. We've got to be resourceful. We are competing with a lot of competitors who have raised hundreds of millions of dollars, in fact billions of dollars, and we have not taken a penny, right? So is that frustrating? Yeah, but it's also an opportunity to say, I'm gonna win. I'm going to have my fair. We're not going to win it all, but we're going to have our fair share of wins. So that's always going to be the challenge. And since I've always done that, it's challenging, but it's also exciting. Okay. More recently, like what's happened, and not unique to Hushly, is we've seen budgets constraints, layoffs, entire teams getting laid off. It's kind of frustrating to see this happen. And the byproduct of that is they have to stop all innovations and just cut it down to the bare bones of just keeping the lights on, right? And that has happened over the last couple of years, but I think this year, at least in the beginning of the year, there was a little bit more hope of say, okay, things are going to turn up. But again, now we run into this situation where there's tariffs and all of the other things. So we'll see. Though that's frustrating, but those are macroeconomic challenges that are happening that we're part of, and we wish it didn't happen or things were normal. But you had COVID, and then you had which was, nobody predicted or nobody had seen this, and how to deal with that. And then you had the economic situation, and now you have the tariff situation. Three things in a row. It's very frustrating, right? It's like, come on, we're trying to bring innovation to the marketplace. We're trying to get the market buyers excited, etc. But these things are beyond our control, and we just have to play with the cards that we're served with.
And so, whether it's tech adoption, customer buy in, or something else, where do you see the most resistance from your market, and how are you working to overcome that?
The biggest sales objection right now that we are seeing is budget, is what we're saying. Is while we can't get fooled with, the boards are instructing their organization to do experimentation with AI, right? Which is true. So we see a lot of demand there, but we can't actually count them as customers or think that they're customers just because they're trying. Because if we start thinking that way, but we are looking at what does the customer think? Are they thinking that they're just appeasing the board by running a POC and they have a check mark to go back to the board? Because it has to show value, right? So while we see a lot of demand on the AI side, we're also cautious and saying how much of this demand is really true customers, right? So that's something that whilst we see it as not necessarily a sales objection or friction, but it could be a false positive. Right? So we don't want to get into that mode of saying, okay, there's a lot of demand and yes, we're doing great, but in reality, it's not great because they're being directed by the board to do something on AI and they just kick off a POC that they couldn't go back to the board and say, yeah, we have something, right? But so we're cognizant of that.
And is there anything internally, whether it's processes, team alignment, or resource constraints, that's held you back from executing as fast as you'd like?
Yeah, resources for sure, without a doubt, is far and beyond. So, like I said, we are a very small team, and we, as opposed to be venture funded, right, where you say, "Oh, go grow on." Whatever, at all costs, whatever. We are customer funded. So, which basically is a different growth trajectory for us, right? So, that has been always will be the challenge. And I don't think it's going to be anyway. We just have to be resourceful, more resourceful.
And so, if we were sitting down like this a year from now and you were reflecting back, what would success look like? And, whether it was for your business with the growth or with your product, what would success be for you?
My success is dependent on my customer success. I know that sounds cliche, but it is true. We do what I call inverse QBRs. What that basically means is we do go to a customer and do our QBRs for their team, but we also do inverse QBRs. We get our customer success folks to come and present to every member of Hushly, and we do that once a week where they come in and saying, this is customer X, and let me explain the customer's business to you as a 10-year-old, right? Because the developer, they're different, right? We have different roles. So they come in and explain, this is the customer's business. This is what the customer's growth initiatives are, and this is what they're trying to hit. Right? And how can we help them? Maybe we can help them in some places and we can't help them for everything. But how are we impacting, aligned with their customers' growth? And the more we are aligned with their growth and helping them is our success. So that's how we measure it. So my measurement is how much are we growing our customers' business and how much of that can we take some attribution for?
It's a great measurement. I love that. And so before we wrap up, what's the single biggest piece of advice that you give to other founders or marketers trying to stand out in an increasingly crowded and fast moving landscape?
Well, I can give good advice for people who are trying to go down the path of not taking investor capital because I think I'm well versed in that. I don't generally try to give advice to people who are trying to raise capital and go down that path because I don't think I have experience, so my advice would not be worthwhile. For the folks who are trying to do this, a customer funded approach as opposed to the venture funded approach. Just figure out what exactly your customer is trying to solve. Sit down with them. Even, did you say when somebody's starting off, or are you saying that they're already there and they're trying to stand out?
Either way, if you
Okay.
have advice, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, for so somebody who's wants to go down the entrepreneurial work, and they're trying to do it my way, or the customer funded way, I would say sit down and talk. The domain, or at least the area that you want to go build something. It doesn't have to be game changing or change the world. It should be some problem that you're trying to solve, however small it is, and go sit down and talk to a particular customer and saying, is this a problem, and get some validity, because typically you start off with a domain that you started, and while don't quit your job, keep your job while having your job. Find a co-founder, because you can't do it alone. Have one other person, because there's going to be a lot more dark days than light days, bright days in this journey, and build something really, really small. And if you just have an idea's a dime a dozen. Nobody really cares for what your idea is, honestly. But after you build something and you start delivering it to a customer, and the milestone that you have to look out for is if somebody's ready to write you a check. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. It could be even $10, but you achieved a major milestone of taking an idea that you had, you validated, and somebody's willing to pay you $10 for that. That's the major milestone. That's the first thing. If you can get there, you can figure it out later, or you come talk to me. I can tell you more about that. But that's if you're going down that road. If you're in a crowded market, you have to be different. It's not that you got to be better than stuff. So I always look at, I don't want to be better than something. I want to be different. So figure out what makes you different. In the Hushly's case, our differentiation is twofold. Like I said, we're an all-in-one conversion cloud, so we're unique there, and we're customer first. That's in our DNA, right? So if you're not different, then you have to compete on price, right? Or you become commoditized, etc. If somebody's starting off the journey, start small, think small, don't think big. Focus on getting that first check cut to you. That's where you have validation that your idea is actually valid, and then try to figure out, how do I then sell it to the next customer, to the next customer, to the next customer. That is that. And if you're already in there and you're in a crowded space, you have to figure out a way that you're different, not necessarily better. Better is a harder thing to do. Different is a lot easier.
Great advice. And if anyone wants to learn more about Hushly or reach out to you, what is the best way?
The usual, LinkedIn is the best way to reach out to me. Hushly.com is the best way to learn about the innovations that we're bringing to the market, etc. Happy to talk to anybody on not just Hushly, anything, whether it's to do with AI in general or startups in general, etc. Right? I'm more than happy to learn and share. I don't know it all, so I sit down and surround myself with a lot of folks who know it a lot better than me. And some I share is, this is what I've done, this is what didn't work.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to Mo's Market Pulse. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a comment, and join us again to hear more insights from leaders coming up on future episodes. And thank you, Geoff, for spending some time with us today.
Thank you, Sarah. Hope you have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.